Most people are terrified of the silence. In the modern world, we construct elaborate architectures of noise to ensure we are never truly left with our own thoughts. We surround ourselves with people we do not like, consume media we do not enjoy, and seek validation from strangers we will never meet, all to avoid the crushing weight of being alone. We view solitude as a failure, a sign that we have been rejected by the tribe. But this fear is a modern sickness. To the ancient warrior, specifically the greatest swordsman who ever lived, solitude was not a condition to be escaped. It was a fortress to be built. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated duelist who spent the final years of his life living in a cave, understood that the man who cannot walk alone is a slave to everything around him. If your stability depends on the presence of others, you are fragile. If your peace depends on external validation, you are weak. True strength, the kind that cannot be shaken by the changing tides of fortune, is found only when you learn the art of walking alone. In the next few minutes, we will bridge the gap between Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings and modern neuroscience. You will learn the critical difference between loneliness and solitude. We will dismantle the fear of being alone and hand you the practical methods to achieve total solitude in a chaotic world. If you're ready to stop following the herd and start walking your own path, subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us motivated and inspires us to keep creating. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Connection. Let us consider the story of a man named Elias. Elias is an archetype of the modern condition. He is a man who has done everything right by the standards of society. He has a demanding career that keeps his mind occupied, a social circle that keeps his weekends full, and a digital presence that keeps his dopamine receptors firing. On the surface, Elias is connected. Yet beneath the noise, there is a hollow ringing in his chest, a quiet desperation that wakes him up at 3 a.m. He feels an unshakable anxiety that if he were to stop running, if he were to turn off the phone and sit in an empty room, he would cease to exist. This is the trap of the modern age. We have traded depth for width and solitude for stimulation. This fragility stands in stark contrast to the life of Miyamoto Musashi. In 1645, knowing his death was approaching, Musashi did not seek the comfort of a large court. He retreated to the Ronin cave. He stripped away the non-essentials. There, in the dim light of a flickering oil lamp, he wrote the Dokkodo, or the Path of Aloneness. It consists of 21 precepts, a final testament to a life defined by unyielding self-discipline. The first principle he wrote down is perhaps the most difficult for a man like Elias to understand. Accept everything just the way it is. Elias is constantly fighting reality. He wishes he were more popular. He wishes his work was easier. This resistance creates suffering. Musashi teaches that to walk alone, one must first look at the harsh, cold reality of the world and accept it fully. Chapter 2. The Detoxification of the Soul. Elias decides to conduct an experiment. Driven by the exhaustion of his own facade, he chooses to adopt the way of the Dokkodo for 30 days. He begins by severing the cords of external validation. He deletes the apps that demand his attention. He stops accepting invitations to events he does not wish to attend. He sits in his apartment, and for the first time in years, he allows the silence to settle. The first few days are not peaceful, they are agonizing. This is the withdrawal phase. The ancient samurai understood that the mind is like a wild horse. If it is used to being fed sugar, it will rebel when it is put to work. Elias feels the itch of boredom, the spike of loneliness, and the fear of missing out. He is confronting the self that he has been running from. Musashi warned of this in his precept, do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Modern life is an endless buffet of cheap pleasures designed to distract us from our purpose. By removing these pleasures, Elias is forced to confront the void. In the silence, he cannot distinguish between loneliness and solitude. To him, they feel identical. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. I will tell you about the difference between the loneliness and solitude in next chapter. Chapter 3. The Neuroscience of the Void. As Elias sits in the deepening silence of his apartment, he initially feels a physical ache in his chest. This is not a metaphor. He is experiencing what neuroscientists like Dr. Matthew Lieberman have proven, that unwanted loneliness triggers the anterior cingulate cortex, the exact same region of the brain that processes physical pain. Elias's body is flooded with cortisol. His inflammation rises. His biology is screaming that he has been abandoned by the tribe. This is the loneliness loop. Most men run from this feeling. They turn on the TV or call a friend to numb the pain. But Elias, guided by the Dokkodo, makes a different choice. He stays. And because he stays, because he chooses the isolation rather than suffering it, a chemical shift begins to take place. The pain receptors deactivate. First, he notices the hum of anxiety, which has been the background noise of his life for a decade, suddenly vanish. He is experiencing the deactivation effect, identified by Dr. Thuy V. Nguyen. Without the constant pressure to perform socially, his high arousal emotions dampen. The fight or flight mechanism, exhausted from years of microstressors, finally powers down. For the first time, Elias is not just resting, he is undergoing a biological reset. He feels a stillness that is almost terrifying in its depth. This is what Musashi called Fudo Shin, the immovable mind, but Elias feels it simply as the absence of fear. And then, as the boredom sets in, something strange happens to his thoughts. Staring at a blank wall, his mind begins to make connections he never saw before. Solutions to work problems, creative ideas, and old memories surface with crystal clarity. Elias has unwittingly activated the default mode network, the specific brain network, the seat of creativity. This network only turns on when we stop focusing on the outside world. By engaging with the void, Elias has granted his brain the bandwidth to process his own life. The samurai used this state for strategy. Elias uses it to reclaim his intellect. Finally, he feels a profound shift in his sense of self. In the crowd, Elias was a mirror, subconsciously mimicking the desires and opinions of those around him, a phenomenon known as social contagion. But here, alone in the dark, there is no one to mimic. The mirror breaks. He realizes that for the first time in years, the thoughts in his head are actually his own. He is experiencing true autonomy. He is no longer a collection of other people's expectations. He is becoming a solid entity. He understands now that the pain he felt earlier was just the death of his persona. The man who emerges from the silence is not lonely. He is sovereign. And in the chapters ahead, we will know how he breaks his mental cage through Musashi's Book of 5 Rings in only 30 days. Chapter 4. The Practice of the 30 Days. To survive the 30 days without losing his mind, Elias realizes he cannot simply sit in a room and wait for enlightenment. That would be madness. The void is heavy, and without structure, it will crush him. So he turns his apartment into a dojo. He structures his isolation using 3 specific techniques from Musashi's The Book of 5 Rings, turning his solitude into a training ground for the spirit. For the first 10 days, the silence is aggressive. Elias struggles with the dopamine withdrawal, the itch to check for updates, to look for something, anything to distract him. To combat this, he applies the observation of the gaze, or metsuke, from the water scroll. Musashi instructs, do not let your eyes wander. Look at things from a distance as if they were close, and look at things close as if they were distant. Elias stops focusing on the glowing pixels inches from his face. He goes to the window. He forces his vision to soften, taking in the entire skyline without locking on to single car or building. By physically widening his gaze, he finds that he mentally widens his perspective. He learns to see the world not as a series of notifications demanding a reaction, but as a vast, slow-moving landscape. By day 15, the mental battle becomes physical. His body wants to fidget, to pace, to run from the lack of stimulation. Here, Elias adopts the body of the rock, or Iwano-mi, from the Earth Scroll. Musashi writes, become like a rock, immovable. Elias sets a timer for 20 minutes. He sits on the floor, spine straight, and he forbids his body from moving. No scratching, no shifting weight, no adjusting posture. He becomes a statue. This physical rigidity forces his mind to surrender. He discovers that his previous inability to be alone was stored in his nervous system's constant need for motion. By mastering the body of the rock, he creates a container strong enough to hold the silence. He is no longer a leaf in the wind. He is the stone the wind breaks against. In the final 10 days, Elias faces the hardest challenge, the fear of white space. The modern mind believes that if it is not productive, it is wasting away. To conquer this, Elias practices the rhythm of the void, Kuno Hiyoshi, from the Void Scroll. Musashi taught that there is a rhythm to everything, fighting, building, and living, but the most powerful rhythm is found in the empty spaces between strikes. Elias stops rushing to fill the gaps in his day. When he finishes a task, he does not immediately start another. He sits in the transition. He learns to exist in the pause. He discovers that in this void, his intuition speaks loud and clear. He is no longer forcing outcomes. He is moving in time with his own nature. The panic of wasting time is replaced by the power of owning time. Chapter 5. The Way is in Training. When the 30 days end, Elias re-enters the world, but he is not the same man who locked the door. He steps out onto the busy street, and the noise of the city hits him like a physical wave. Horns honking, people shouting, the rush of commerce. But for the first time in his life, the noise does not enter him. He walks through the crowd, but he carries the silence of the room within him. He has built an internal sanctuary that the world cannot touch. He goes back to work and he sees the games people play, the desperate need for approval, the fear of silence in a conversation, the constant posturing. But he no longer feels the need to participate. When a colleague tries to provoke him or a project goes wrong, he does not react with his old fragility. He accesses the body of the rock. He observes the chaos with the observation of the gaze. He realizes that his previous connections were chains, but his new connections are choices. He speaks less, but his words carry the weight of a man who is comfortable with silence. Elias has learned the ultimate lesson of the Dokkodo. You can be in a crowd and still walk alone. He understands now that we are all born alone and we all die alone. To deny this is to live a lie. To accept it is to find the ultimate freedom. The art of walking alone is not about becoming a hermit or hating humanity. It is about self-possession. It is the realization that you are enough. Miyamoto Musashi did not write his philosophy to make men sad. He wrote it to make them invincible. When you no longer need the world to understand you, you can finally understand the world. The path is waiting. It is narrow, it is steep, and it is solitary. Most will choose the wide paved road where the crowd marches in lockstep toward a comfortable oblivion. But for those few who seek to master themselves, there is another way. Step away from embrace the void and learn, finally, how to walk alone.